Yo, what's up, guys? So today I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to peek angles correctly in Valorant. And this is one of the first videos in a series that I'm gonna be starting, helping you guys improve in Valorant. So yeah, let's get into it. All right. So the first thing that you guys need to understand is the type of peeking that you're doing. So there's three types of this. There's what I just like to call normal peeking, and that's say pre-aiming any angle that an opponent could be at. So like, see how my crosshair is pre-aimed to the angle right here, and I can walk up, and there could be somebody here, so I'm pre-aiming my crosshair there, clearing logs, clearing market, right? CT. So that's one of the ways of peeking stuff, and this is more slow and methodical, and you're just clearing angles while exposing yourself to one angle at a time. Another type of peeking that can be used is a wide swing. So that's just going to be, obviously, you'd have your gun out, but that's just going to be a swing wide like this. And on your opponent's screen, you're going to be a very fast moving object. So you're going to be hard to hit. But the downside to this is see how many angles I expose myself at once. I swing like this.
There.
Market could see me, CT could see
There.
me, stairs. All of these angles can see me right now versus I can only obviously shoot at one at a time. So another one of these peaks that is honestly probably the most helpful one that you'll learn. And this is kind of two parts, maybe even three. But first part is jiggle peeking. So let's say I want to clear market, I'm just jiggling it, getting info, right? And then another, this is kind of part two to jiggle peeking, and it's called shoulder peeking. So you're not clearing the angle itself, but if somebody is in market right now, obviously I can't see them, but it's to bait out a shot. So this is a risky method because a lot of these walls are bangable. So like if I'm market and I see him, obviously this wall is wall bangable, so you will get hit. But if you do it correctly, you should be able to bait out a shot. It's really helpful for operators and stuff like that. You bait out a shot, shot comes, swing wide, hit them. So that's two of the ones, and then another one is just a jump peek. So if I'm clearing market, I'm just jump peeking that. If I'm clearing CT, jump peek that. Um, so yeah, those are the three types of peeking that I'd say are most common and that you should apply to your gameplay. Alright, so now that you guys understand different types of peaks you can use, now you need to know when to apply them. So I'd like to go over, if you play Valorant a lot, you've probably heard these terms before. People call them different things. I like to refer to them as off angles and on angles. On angles are typically more common spots that people will play from, like here on A site. A lot of the times there's going to be a player playing Gen. They can take a shot and then hide behind cover just like this. This is an on angle right here. This is a common angle with cover. Um, More of a weird off angle would be something like this. Just crouched up on dice like this. If somebody
There.
swings from here, they're not going to really be expecting a guy
There.
here, right? Like they might swing, clear over here, clear close heaven, and suddenly there's a guy right here, right? So that's the type of thing that's called an off angle. And obviously the risk with this is you get your pick, you're really exposed to being double swung and traded. So even if you get your pick, unless you're playing somebody like Reyna, who can quickly dismiss and like kind of get back behind cover. Unless you're playing an agent like that, off angles are definitely really risky, but are typically a freer way to get kills, especially in higher elo, because not a lot of people obviously clear them. Cool. So the last type of angle that I'm going to show you guys, I'm actually going to show you on Bind, because I feel like it's the best example of it. So yeah, let me head on to Bind. Alright, so we're here on Bind, and this is the last angle that I like to cover. I like to call it, or I've just heard this term from a lot of really good players. They call it a roulette. And that's if you're clearing hookah, it's hard, obviously. Somebody can be sitting here with a shotgun. Somebody can be sitting up here with a shotgun, right? And see how when you clear this angle, I'm exposed to this angle now. So it's kind of a pick your own poison type of deal, right? And these type of angles are pretty much impossible to clear correctly without any type of util usage. That could be a Skydog in here, a Cypher Cam in here to clear that angle without obviously risking your life. Or even a Raze need to clear out this corner potentially. But right here, probably the most useful type of peak to use is a jump peak. Okay, I didn't see anyone there. Let me clear this. Boom, right? Obviously there's no perfect way to do this without util, but if you're playing something like I don't know, jet, and you don't really have a way to clear it, like, using util, and your teammates are dead, obviously the best way to do this would just be a little jump peek, see if you can see anything. Or even a quick little jiggle, but obviously I'd say that's riskier than a jump peek. Now that you guys understand all of these angles that your opponents could be peeking from, I'd like to explain what type of peeking you should use to counter that. So obviously for this, I just said a jump peek or a jiggle peek could be fine. Um, if you're trying to clear on angles, which I went over earlier, the best way to do that is just to pre-aim your crosshair to that angle. So CT is going to be right here, and swing out. See how my crosshair is on CT? You can elbow. See how my crosshair always ends up on the angles before I swing them? Um, Now, if you're trying to hit a site, obviously you need to use util, right? To clear, mainly to clear off angles. Because if I'm clearing here, and there's a dude sitting up there, look at this. If I'm peeking like this, my crosshair's CT, right? My crosshair's still CT. If there's a dude sitting right here, I'm gonna die, right? If you jiggle peek this angle right here, let's say, okay, I see somebody hookah, I'm gonna jiggle peek it again, jiggle peek it again, right? They're gonna have their crosshair really tight. They're gonna have their crosshair right here. Right? So if you jiggle peek again, their crosshair is going to be right here. What I like to do is I like to bait their crosshair placement there, and then wide swing. Um, so bait their crosshair tight, and then wide swing. Alright, now that I've covered all of that, I'd like to go over a method that's referred to as the APE method. So for A stands for assess. So we're going to assess the situation, and obviously, like, let's say util's already cleared some off angles, so we can only peek on angles, or like jiggle peek or jump peek, anything like that. We want to assess the situation to determine kind of what type of peek we want to use. And then P stands for predict. Um, Thinking ahead plays a big part in preparing yourself for any sort of gunfight. And you don't want to autopilot. When you're clearing these angles, right, like you don't want to autopilot. Let's say you're just autopilot clearing this angle and there's actually someone there, but you're not ready to shoot. You're just clearing it. They're looking at you the same way that you're looking at them, right? So if you're not ready to shoot and you're just kind of autopiloting, clearing all of these angles, right? This guy, he's gonna be ready to shoot you, right? He's holding this angle. So you really got to be ready. You got to predict that an opponent is going to be there and actually be ready to shoot them. Okay, now, the E in APE stands for execute. So, once you've determined where an enemy could be and what type of peek you want to use, obviously, to peek that enemy, you want to execute it. So you execute the peek, right? And, I mean, it's really just as simple as that. You execute the peek. If you do it correctly, you should have either a fair gunfight or a gunfight in your favor. That should be won most of the time, right? So you just gotta execute, you gotta peek correctly, use the correct peek, and hit your shots. Now, people ask me, Henry, well, I've been told not to swing angles like this, right? If you want to swing like this, look, your opponent is gonna see your shoulder right here. If somebody's standing here, they can see my shoulder, right? What am I looking at? A wall. So, when you swing an angle, you really want to be kind of as far back from this front wall as you can. That way, obviously, I can swing. We can see each other right here. Another thing that I see people do this wrong all the time is peeking with both W. So I'm pressing W right now, and D, or and A, right? And why this is bad is this minimizes your movement speed. So on their screen, if you're pressing both and going diagonally, you're moving way slower than just strafing with A and D, right? So if I'm peeking this angle right here, I'm not going to be wanting to press W and D, pre-aiming my crosshair over here, right? I'm only going to be wanting to be pressing D. That way I'm moving faster on their screen and I'm a harder to hit object. Now another mistake I see a lot, I'm going to just go back to hookah to kind of explain this, is I like to call it rounding corners, right? So I'm just carelessly, see, I'm just kind of pressing A and D at the same time, just rounding these corners, like, I mean, there might be someone there, but I don't really care. I'm just kind of rounding these corners, like, okay, it could be somebody there, rounding these corners. And I'm pressing A and W, or D and W, like, all at the same time. And, obviously, if somebody's holding you here, and you're just running carelessly, you know what I mean? You're obviously gonna die there. So that's another mistake I see a lot. But one more thing I wanted to go over was, gun advantage. and mainly the two guns would be a shotgun. So obviously, for instance, if you, let's say you jump peek this angle and you see a guy with a shotgun, right? How are you gonna peek to maximize? Because obviously, this guy with a judge, boom, and you're dead, right? So how are you gonna maximize your chance of winning this gunfight? Well, there's multiple ways of doing this, but the main one I recommend is obviously util usage, right? If you can push this guy back, full blind him, a nade, just kind of like that, right? That pushes him back, and then you with your Vandal can come in, re-clear these angles, and you should have a more optimized gunfight. Another gun I wanted to go over was the Operator. So, if somebody on blind is holding you from long with an Operator, um, obviously, you don't want to swing wide. If you swing wide, the Operator has obviously the most zoom in the game, so this really isn't that big of a crosshair adjustment. It's just kind of like that versus a crosshair. Obviously, it's a way bigger adjustment. So wide swinging really is not that effective on operators. What's probably most effective is hitting them with the jump peek and either seeing that, you know, hey, they have an op, we should probably maybe flash around this corner, like if you sky flash around this corner or something. Or even bait out a shot. If I jump peek this and I bait out a shot, and hopefully I don't die, now I can take a better angle on this. And let's say I have a Vandal, I can take a better angle on this. Now if they re-swing, now they're swinging into my crosshair instead of me swinging into their crosshair. So, yeah. Gun advantage is a big thing to take account when clearing angles. Alright, just to review really fast, we went over 3 types of peeking, and that's slicing the pie. I think I didn't refer to that earlier in the video, but it's called slicing the pie, where you pre-aim your crosshair to each angle and then you clear it. This is called slicing the pie. And that's kind of just normally clearing your angles slowly and methodically. We went over wide swinging, and then we went over jiggle peeks, shoulder peeks, and jump peeks. And then we went over where to use them. So obviously somebody has an op holding you long, you want to jiggle peek the angle first, maybe bait out a shot, something like that. If you jiggle peek it like this, then you could wide swing because their crosshair should be tight like this since you're jiggle peeking. So then you can swing it wide. And then obviously when you're clearing your angles, this is always for on angles, which are common angles that an enemy can be playing around. And then off angles are kind of, I like to just call them weird angles. Like if somebody's just like playing up here, like you wouldn't clear this, right? From hookah, you wouldn't clear somebody being up here. So this is the type of off angle. And then it's hard to regain cover after you get a pick. So it's easily, the downside is it's easy to die from that angle if you miss your shots, or even if you get a pick and you get traded. We also went over a bunch of different advantages, like gun advantage, stuff like that. And some common mistakes that people might do. So yeah, I hope that you guys learned a lot from this video. More of this type of content coming soon. Please join the Discord in my bio. I'm doing coaching sessions there. If you're interested in my coaching, join that Discord. Look around, you know, hang out. And yeah, I catch you guys on the next one.